Jonathan India is on the trade block again, and this time it's for real.
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Reds. We are your daily source for all things Cincinnati Reds. I'm Stephen Offenbaker. He's Jeff Carr. We have a combined nearly 14 years of experience covering the Cincinnati Reds in podcast form. We love baseball. We love the Cincinnati Reds, and we've taken our love of the game. We've taken our love for this team, and we have turned that into information for you. Locked On Reds is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And on today's podcast, we've got rumors, folks. We have learned over the weekend that the Cincinnati Reds are, in fact, actively shopping Jonathan India. Who are they talking to? What might they get in return? What would the impacts be on the rest of the team? Well, guess what? We're going to be talking about all of that on today's Locked On Reds, which is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is amazing. Just download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB to get $20 off your very first ticket purchase. All right, Jeff. Jonathan India on the trade block. This feels like it's deja vu all over again. This is what the Reds do in the offseason, apparently. But this time it has actually a little bit more teeth to it, I think, because we not only know a trading partner, but we know the principles of a potential deal at this point.
Yeah, for those that don't know, the last couple of off seasons have been, well, the Reds are kind of interested. They're listening to offers on Jonathan India. They're thinking about maybe considering planning for the possibility of trading Jonathan. All the things that make it sound as though, well, if they don't trade Jonathan India, then we weren't wrong for reporting it. This was a concrete thing. Ken Rosenthal from The Athletic said that the Reds and Royals were in preliminary trade talks about sending Jonathan India to Kansas City and receiving a pitcher named Brady Singer, a starting pitcher named Brady Singer. I want to talk about Brady Singer here in a little bit, but this is the most concrete that any Jonathan trade rumor has ever been, so there is no doubt about it. India is available for trade. So I want to start there because I feel like during this season, we felt as though India was having a bit of a resurgence, but when you look at the entire body of work, it still wasn't as good as his Rookie of the Year campaign. It was better than the 2 years that followed 2021, but I don't necessarily know that he was setting the world on fire. So the fact that we are hearing about Jonathan India, maybe even bringing back a legitimate major league pitcher, that really kind of excites me a little bit.
Well, you know, Jonathan India's defense got better, and that's been a knock against him.
Big thing.
And I think that helps. I want to just point out also, when we're talking about this rumor with Jonathan India, this wasn't Heyman. This wasn't Keith Law. This was Ken Rosenthal. This has legs. So the Reds are actively shopping India, and there's a lot of implications to this, Jeff. There are a lot of things that this means. I feel like at this point, the Reds are going to have to trade him because they have rinsed and repeated this thing. That relationship is not going to be getting any better, I don't think. But I like this. I like the fact that the Reds are acknowledging that they need to go get pitching depth. I like the fact that they are acknowledging that while there is a lot of young talent in the system, they're not necessarily willing to rush more of it to the majors before it's ready just to fill a spot. So I like that they're being proactive and they're going out and dealing with this. I know that I said I was going to go buy a drum and get a drum to beat on talking about the right-handed outfield power bat. But we have also acknowledged that need 1B was to kind of solidify the starting rotation a little bit. And this does that. This is a bold move, I think, on the part of the Reds front office. Interesting that it comes out now, Jeff. I think that, you and I talked a little bit off air that this probably means the Reds are pretty close, and the Royals are putting a test balloon out to see if somebody else comes a calling real quick going, wait. I got a better offer. I got a better deal. Wait. I think that might be what portion of the negotiations we're in. The Royals hoping to maybe drive up the price a little bit. So this could be something imminent at this point with it coming out this way.
I don't necessarily know how quickly we'll hear the reporting, but this is a guy, and to kind of add to the legitimacy of this kind of a trade rumor, the Reds were connected with at least talking to the Royals this past trade deadline about Brady Singer. So this is not something that was cooked up out of the blue and it just began over this weekend. This is something that Nick Krall has done before, and Nick Krall is a guy that when he begins a conversation 6 months ago and he revisits that conversation, he's into this. He likes what he sees. There's something about this deal that makes him excited. And before we get to whether or not this is the best trade that you can make for Jonathan India, or this idea is the best trade idea you can make for Jonathan India, I do want to revisit this for one reason, because I think that there is a group of folks, and not to call them out, but my dad is in this group, where they don't think that it's smart to trade Jonathan India right now. I do, because I think this is the best that you will get, the best value that you will get for Jonathan India. I don't know that his power is going to ever be better than we've seen. I think we have seen the height of his actual hitting power. Contact-wise, he probably could be better, but I don't necessarily know that that makes him extremely more valuable. And I don't know that he could be a better defender than what we saw in this past year. I think this is the height of his trade value. So to shop him now is just smart on Nick Krall's part. And I know that he has caught a lot of flack, and deservingly so, over this past year for different moves and different misses and different things that he did not do. This is a smart thing for him to be doing. But let's kind of change gears a little bit on this. Is this the best trade idea? I don't necessarily know that you could say that the Reds could go out and get an outfielder for Jonathan India, but I did not think that you would be hearing a bona fide, stable starting pitcher option coming back for Jonathan India. I thought in my estimation for any sort of India trade, we'd be talking more about prospects or higher level prospects, or, you know, people who are not major league ready. And so that is why I was never into any sort of Jonathan India trade rumor. This I'm into.
Yeah, I don't know that both things aren't going to be true. I don't think this is going to be a 1-for-1, Jeff. There's going to be another piece. There's going to be another piece to this. So we will be talking about a prospect. It just may not be a frontline major prospect, but it's probably going to be a pitching prospect. Somebody that pitches in the Red system is going to go in this deal. That's just kind of the way that I see it. You know, we have to kind of ask ourselves if it's the best use for India. If could they, I don't know, parlay him into an outfielder, right? That's the question. If you're going to make a trade, could you trade for an outfielder? Well, I mean, I could trade you for an outfielder. We could make a trade for an outfielder, but the real question, you have to expand it. The question is, can you trade Jonathan India for a right-handed, power-hitting, everyday outfielder? The answer is no. Could you package Jonathan India with a decent pitching prospect and get a right-handed, power-hitting, everyday outfielder? The answer is no. They're going to have to go sign that guy in free agency. So let's not get bogged down in it. Let's look at what you can get for Jonathan India and a mid-range pitching prospect. You can get a guy like Brady Singer. You can get a fifth starter with a year or two left of control to round out a rotation that will then you can either flip with the guy later or get him out of the way to bring up your young pitchers. I like this lane for a Jonathan India trade. This is probably the best use because it addresses an immediate need, and it gets you a guy that when your young players hopefully hit, that you can then trade for something else. A Jonathan India trade right now for a pitcher is kind of the gift that keeps on giving, because there's going to be a secondary move down the road. So you're not even going to be able to really evaluate this trade in full for 3 or 4 years to really see where the Reds ended up.
Yeah, and I think that I want to unpack that a little bit more, because there's no doubt India is available. And Brady Singer fills a need for a couple of different reasons, fills a big need for the Reds this offseason. So that is why this rumor is so intriguing. We'll talk about what those reasons are coming up next. It may be the offseason in baseball, but there's never an offseason over at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new users can get $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Go sign up on FanDuel.com right now. There's some great futures odds when it comes to baseball. The Reds 60-1 to win the World Series next year. Terry Francona really wants you to take that line, maybe even wants to see it get a little bit more to the underdog side of things because he is ready to lead this team to where they want to go. But you can also check out football lines, basketball lines, hockey lines. They literally have everything. And if you are live betting during the game, you can see everything about the game all on the same page that you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. Like I said, new users with their first $5 winning bet can get $150 in bonus bets. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. We're talking Cincinnati Reds today, all day, every week, every month, all year long. Make sure you subscribe to get at least 30 minutes of Reds talk in your feed every single day. And with this Jonathan India trade option, trade rumor, Steve. And by the way, look, we know there's been a lot of news over the weekend between Nick Martinez accepting his qualifying offer and with the Reds changing their TV broadcasters for this upcoming season. We are going to cover all of that in the coming days. So make sure you stick with us.
They didn't change the broadcasters. We don't know that yet. Yeah. They're changing the broadcasting platform. We don't have news on who the broadcast crew is yet.
Right. I mean, yeah, the TV broadcasting company that carries the team. So with that, we will discuss in the coming days. We're focused here on this India trade rumor because it's so fascinating, not only for the fact that it is clear the Reds are shopping Jonathan India, but for the guy that they are rumored to be linked with. Brady Singer is a very solid starting pitching option. I don't want to oversell it and make it seem as though he's going to compete with Hunter Green to be the ace of the staff. That's not going to happen. But he is the kind of guy that you put into your 4th or 5th spot in your rotation, and you feel really good about it because for the last couple of years, he would have led the Reds in starts and innings by a pretty wide margin.
You know, we say 5th starter, and I don't. That's not a dirty word around here. The Reds have some very good pitching, but I mean, look at his 2024. If we want to take one season in a vacuum, he was coming off of a pretty bad year in 2023 where he started 29 games, had a 5.5 ERA. His walks per 9 were fine, but going into 2024, Jeff, 32 starts, a 3.71 ERA, 179 innings, walks per 9 at 2.7, which I love, strikeouts per 9 at 8.5. Not a power pitcher, but gets the occasional guy to whiff, right? But here's the thing. He was good for 3.1 in WAR in 2024. That's a big addition to the Reds rotation. This is not somebody's throwaway pitcher. This is a case of a team trading pitching to get a need filled in a second baseman / infielder. So yeah, I think the Reds are going to be, you look like you have something pressing to say.
No, I was just, it hit me. The last time that the Reds traded with the Royals for a starting pitcher, they got Mike Minor. That's not what we're talking about here. Brady Singer.
Why do you constantly want to throw buckets of wet, just blankets on people?
He was bad.
We never had to talk about Mike Minor again. Never had to do it.
We did it one more time. But no, I think it's, Brady Singer would be a very solid option. And to kind of speak to, you mentioned the bad ERA in 2023. He is a guy that the peripherals don't change very much. He doesn't walk guys very much. He's not a big strikeout guy because he's not a power pitcher. He's a sinker slider pitcher. Last season, he threw his sinking fastball 41% of the time, and he threw his slider 40% of the time. So that's only 20% of the time he throws a four-seamer, a sweeper, and a changeup. But he has a 5-pitch mix. So it's a very solid mix, and his fastball average is around 92. He's not a power type guy. And one thing that he really relies on is putting the ball in play. Last season, he had a 48.3% ground ball rate. So the defense behind him is going to need to be better, which, quite frankly, we're saying that without Brady Singer in the conversation. The Reds fielding needs to be better in 2025. But if you get a guy like Brady Singer, you're just putting an exclamation point on that sentence, because he thrives when the gloves are working.
I want to amend something that I just said, and I said he's not a power pitcher. I said that he occasionally gets a whiff. He would have led the Reds in strikeouts last year.
Well,
by one.
But he led
by
him in
one.
innings. He would lead
struck
in
out
yeah.
one more guy than Hunter Green did, and he would have led him in innings, correct? But so maybe he is a little bit better of a strikeout guy.
But it's a rate thing, right? Because, like, I mean, he threw 172 and 2/3 innings last season. Hunter Green threw 150. He literally almost threw 30 more innings, or, 6 okay starts of 5 innings apiece, or 5 6-inning starts. Basically, a whole month's worth of pitching more than Hunter Green had. And that's really where the value is with Brady Singer, because you and I had this conversation, this is probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago, of, who on the Reds could get 30 starts next year. And we both agree that Hunter Green is most likely, with Andrew Abbott right behind him. And then we're not guessing any other names because we don't think anybody could get close. You get a guy like Brady Singer, he has made 30 starts in a season before, back in 2023. So I would feel super good. Like, this trade, the more that I think about it, and again, we emphasize that part of Ken Rosenthal's report also said that the Reds and Royals were not close to making the deal just based on the 2 names in it. So they were going to have to add somebody, and who that person is, we're not sure. But assuming they add a mid-level pitching prospect or a mid-level position player prospect, and they get the deal done, this makes the Reds better in my estimation. I think the Reds are better with Brady Singer and not Jonathan India on the team in 2025. I like this idea.
I agree. And talking about his innings, right? The Royals seemingly have handled Singer's innings the right way. His debut year, is 2020. We all agree you can throw out 2020 stats for the most part, anywhere, anytime, because it was the COVID year. But 64 innings in 2020, 2021, 128 innings, 2022, 150 innings, 2023, 160 innings, 2024, 180 innings. So, and over the course of that, Jeff, he went from 27 starts, pushed it out to 29 starts in 2023, 32 starts in 2024, which that's a full healthy season. So I like the way that the Royals have handled his arm. I like the amount of innings that are on his arm. I think, he might even be better than a 5th starter. We opened it with that framing, but he could be the 3rd or 4th starter in a Reds rotation, which we're gonna talk about a little bit later this week. But I think I want to be clear, because there's going to be a segment of the fan base. There's definitely going to be a segment of folks in the comment sections today that are going to absolutely hate this. And I'm interested to see how much of it your dad is leading the charge on, because there's going to be folks that hate this. And there's going to be people that say, what? You only got a lousy 5th starter, a throwaway pitcher for Jonathan India? No, that's not what we're saying. This is a good pitcher, and I think this is a good deal for both teams, depending on what the peripheral looks like as far as the throw-in pieces.
And kind of to add to a point that we made about Hunter Green, like comparing the two, Hunter Green threw 150 innings this last year. Brady Singer hasn't thrown less than 153 innings in the last 3 seasons. Each season he's thrown more than Hunter Green did last year, and that's the most that Hunter Green has thrown in 1 season. So you're adding stability to a group. I mean, you take pressure off of Nick Lodolo, you take pressure off of Rhett Lauder, you take pressure off of Chase Burns and Chase Petty getting ready for the major leagues, and we've now said this a few times that he's not a strikeout pitcher. Maybe put him with Derek Johnson, and Derek Johnson maybe adds a few strikeouts to him to where he is a strikeout per inning guy, and he still gets those ground balls. Like, there's a lot of speculation in that point, but the point is he is a solid, decent pitcher that would add the kind of stability that I think last year we were really looking for in the offseason. You and I said this a lot last offseason, that we wanted a guy that we felt could make 30 starts. Brady Singer can't.
That's the guy. It's definitely a rotation. It's stabilizer. Is that the right word, Jeff?
Yeah.
Like it
No,
kind of
I'm in on
stabilizes
that.
the
I'm in
rotation
on
a little
that.
bit, stabilizes, and then and by extension, then also really goes a long way in helping to stabilize the bullpen, right? There's a guy that goes and takes his turn and throws his innings and gets the job done and helps take some of the pressure off the bullpen.
It doesn't get rid of the idea of bullpen days, but it certainly minimizes the need for like penciling those in as often as they had to last year.
All right, Jeff, this is what I know. The Reds clearly recognize that they need to add depth. They recognize that the pitching staff showed us in 2024 that it didn't quite have the depth, and they're not just going to sit on their hands. They're willing to take a big swing, a bold swing, in order to help get the Reds ready for 2025. Does the Reds' willingness to trade Jonathan India signal that the team believes Matt McLain is 100% healthy? We're going to discuss that coming up next. You can take the guesswork out of buying tickets to all kinds of events with Game Time. Just download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. They've got great deals on NHL tickets. They've got great deals on NBA tickets. They've got great deals on NFL tickets. And when baseball is on, they have really great deals on Major League Baseball as well. Jeff and I tell you about this all the time. We head down to the banks. We find our favorite restaurant. We post up. We have a couple drinks. And right about time to go settle in for first pitch, we jump on the Game Time app. We find great deals. If you're going to a venue that you're not familiar with, they have a view from your seat, and you get all-in pricing with those folks over there. No surprises, no hidden fees. You know exactly what you're going to pay for your tickets. So again, take the guesswork out of buying your tickets. Head over to Game Time, download the app, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Download the Game Time app today. What time is it? It's game time. If you can't watch us here on YouTube, and by the way, click subscribe and like and the notification bell if you are here on YouTube. But if you can't watch us on YouTube, take us with you. We are on pretty much every audio podcasting platform that there is. And if we're not on one you want us on, send Jeff a message. He will make it happen. All right, Jeff, listen, the Reds willing to trade Jonathan India says a couple other things, because we've talked about the log jam. We've talked about the too many infielders situation. This says they believe Matt McLain is healthy and ready to go. This says that maybe there's even some other guys in the mix that we haven't counted in the infield log jam. So let's start with Matt McLain, and we'll get into a couple of the other names. But they've had a chance now to watch him out in Goodyear. He's been willing to play center field, and we spent a lot of time talking about that. But he also says that everybody overreacted to him playing center field. The words of Matt McLain are, I agreed to do this because I wanted at bats. I agreed to play the outfield because there were other guys and I was added to the team late. All that being said, the Reds have seen him bat. The Reds have seen him played. The Reds have to believe he's healthy and ready to go and is going to be their second baseman in 2025 if they're willing to move Jonathan India.
And to their credit, I mean, he had 12 hits, 6 of those for extra bases, 4 of those for home runs. So I kind of like the fact that what we did see, the tiny little bit of him out in Arizona, was productive. So he is still showing that he's going to get in the batter's box and he's going to help you out. And that is really where I think this trade for me, that's the underrated point that hits home to me, is that it's not just that the Reds are willing to listen to other teams that are bringing up Jonathan India in trade conversations. It's that Nick Krall is actively putting together deals that involve Jonathan India because they have confidence that Matt McLain is ready. I think that it goes without saying that Matt McLain is going to be the second baseman next year. When he is healthy and ready to go, they're not moving him to center field. They're not moving him to third base. They're not moving him all around to get him at bats. They would move India around to get at bats. I also think this maybe is a sidebar of, do they even have confidence that India can play in other positions? They're not really sure about that. And so they think that he's more valuable as a trade chip. And I don't know that I have a whole lot of an argument there. But I think that this really does show that the organization believes that Matt McLain is going to be ready for opening day. And I think that that is a good thing. Now, Whether or not we trust medical prognoses from this organization, that's a different thing. But I think that they have seen and they like what they have seen from Matt McLain enough to believe that they can trade Jonathan India.
All right, let me throw another little wrench in the plan. Maybe it's not about Matt McLain. Maybe it's about Spencer Steer. Because if the Reds have, in fact, identified and agree with us that 1 or 2 outfielders are in order for 2025, that would free up Spencer Steer to be back on the infield. Now, Spencer Steer will look you in the eye and tell you second base is his best position. And I know you and I like him at first base, and that's also an option. But if Spencer Steer is available to come back to the infield and he says second base is his best position, well, maybe second base is his position.
And could that also... I think that 2 things could be true on this, that Steer could be an infield candidate and that Matt McLain is healthy and ready to go, but they begin Matt McLain as a designated hitter.
Yes.
Maybe he
protect his shoulder.
Yeah, for the first couple of weeks, month, whatever it takes to make sure that he is comfortable with his shoulder. And then you put Spencer Steer at second, you put outside hires at the corners, TJ Friedel in center field. I think that makes me feel kind of good. And I kind of want to tangentially point to this factor too.
Wow.
The Reds.
You want to do what?
In this third segment. I kind of want to bring this other thought along with us here. Is that, yes, Jonathan India is available. Yes, they have faith that Matt McLain is going to be ready. But I think that their whole thing of poo-pooing expectations and trying to get us to calm ourselves when it comes to the payroll and how much room for spending they might have doesn't necessarily mean they won't be active, because it would have been very easy for them to be like, yeah, we're just not going to have that much money this year. And then we would have heard literally no rumors, literally no headlines, literally no updates. That's not what's happening. And I think that that's a good sign.
And that still leaves them, we're going to do a whole show talking about Nick Martinez later this week or tomorrow, actually. Yeah. But even with that qualifying offer back on the books, they still have $25 million to spend on an outfielder and be at 2024 level payroll. So the trade of India, the signing of an outfielder, the moving of Spencer Steer, all of these pieces, everything moving together right now. I'm really interested to see what the next couple weeks of news looks like with this team, because I think, Jeff, we might be pleasantly surprised. Maybe, just maybe.
Well, and there's another, and I'm springing this on you here at the end of today's show, but there's another topic that I have an idea for later on this week that I want to discuss, and that is early projection systems. The depth charts projection system over at Fangraphs have the Reds as the 27th best team in baseball. Does that mean that Nick Krall understands that and is ready to do some moves to change that? Because 27th is not saying, yeah, you're not as good as you think you are. 27th is saying, get ready, folks. It's going to be bad. And I feel like that might be underselling it a bit. And there's another factor that we talked about last year, but remember, we poo-pooed projection systems last year ourselves, and we were dead wrong about that. So I think that there is an element of the Reds maybe looking themselves in the mirror and like, look, we're not 1 or 2 moves away. We're 3 or 4 or 5 moves away. Mm-hmm. So we got to make sure we make those 3 or 4 or 5 moves, because this fan base is ready to jump off ship here. And we had them for a moment, but we're starting to lose them a little bit. So we got to make sure we keep them.
Well, it's going to be a fun talk later this week, because the other piece of that is if Nick Krall is captaining a 27th best team in baseball, Nick Krall is going to be looking for work. So there's a lot to unpack there. And you know what, Jeff, that is probably a good spot to go ahead and wrap up this edition, because we got a lot more to talk about coming up all week long. Yes. So that's going to do it for this edition of Locked On Reds. Make sure you have clicked subscribe and the notification bell, and click the like button, and tell your friends about us, and get us in your audio feeds, because I know it's the off season, but there is a lot of stuff going on right now. There is a lot of things to unpack with your Cincinnati Reds, and we are going to do it all right here, because we pride ourselves on keeping you Locked On Reds every single day. Big words, man, from Alabama, Huntsville West. That is amazing.
I'm just ready to keep on talking. You know what? Let's just keep on. All right, we'll do one more.